Hey, yo, what it is and what's good, y'all? Welcome back to 280 Plus, the social media podcast where I take the conversations off the timeline and go beyond the tweets. I'm your host, Slow Steph, and I'm back here for episode 190 of the platform. 190. And so, if you're brand new to the channel, I'd like you to hit that subscribe button, hit that bell for notifications, hit that like button, help the algorithm. Leave a comment below if you want to join the conversation. And if you know anybody that's interested in anything that we're going to be talking about tonight, please share the content. Share the content. All right. So, man, I'm back here, and this week, man, we got. Yeah, I mean, I think people know what I'm gonna be talking about. You know what I'm saying? So it's the second weekend that Sinners was out. Ryan Coogler Sinners, and I'm gonna be talking about. I'm giving my little take, my little review on that. We're gonna also share some content that's related to it, maybe to uncover some deeper meanings of some things, and we're gonna kind of maybe react to it. We're gonna talk about the NFL draft because that's hot off the presses as well. Everything that has to do with it, well, most of the things that had to do with the draft. You know, my team's picks, obviously, but also we're gonna talk about this Shedeur's slide down to the fifth round and how that even came to be. But then, even before we get into all that good stuff, we're going to talk about we're just gonna react to some videos from Instagram. It's actually some things that I didn't get to share and talk about in last week's episode, so we just kind of circling back and getting through some of that content as well. All right, so some of the first stuff is going to be a little bit, our Twitter reaction is going to be a little random, little different things, you know, a little variety, but then we're going to get into Sinners and then the NFL draft. All right, so let's see where are we going to go first with this. Okay, so how many of you guys, so I mean, most of the people that's watching this are probably parents, right? They're, you know, I mean, you know, so how often have you ever, and most of you guys probably have kids that compete in sports, right? And so, like, I know, you know, I have my son, he plays a little bit of football, he plays basketball, and then he swims, right? So I've only kind of experienced something like this one time, but and I didn't do the greatest, but I did pretty well, right? So in the swim season, I remember my son's first time swimming for a team. They did a parent race. It was like some type of special little cookout, whatever, and then they did a parent race, and I was like, yeah, sure, you know, I'll do it, you know what I mean? And I'm gonna tell you this about swimming too. It's like you definitely stand out. You know what I mean? I was the only black dad on the swim team. My son, one of maybe only two other black kids on the team, and the other black kids that were on the team, they were adopted because they had some white parents. So I have participated in a race against other parents, and you know it was an 8 lane little pool. You know, you only had to go 25 meters, 25 meters down, and I think out of eight parents, I think I finished six. All right, so I didn't finish dead last. And swimming is a different thing, man. Especially like competitively swimming, it's a different thing. Also, too, it was my first time ever jumping off the block. Like I ain't never been a competitive swimmer. I'm a good swimmer. I think I'm decent in terms of speed. I don't think I finished like it wasn't even it was I was like close to fifth, fourth. You know what I'm saying? But either way, I have experienced this. But did y'all see? Um, Imagine though if you were like a professional though. Imagine you're a professional. Do you think that you would, and your kid does some type of sport, would you participate in the parent competition, or if you were a professional, would you just kind of leave that to the amateurs? I mean, or do you want to would you want to show everybody up? Well, I guess that's the question that we got to raise with this because I don't know if y'all seen the video, but a former Olympic champion decided she was about to dust everybody off and show them who she really is, right? So let's take a look at that. We're gonna share that video and let's see what you think there. Let's react to that. All right, so yeah, this Olympic gold medalist ran, what did it say? ran the parent race at her son's school. So this is if y'all know Shelly-Ann Frasier Price. Shelly-Ann Fraser Price, former gold medalist for Jamaica. And so obviously, look, there go her son right there. He's at a school. He obviously runs track of some sort. And I'm assuming this is in her home country of Jamaica. I don't have anything to verify this, but she decided that she was going to get in the race. Now, was she, now this is not just a regular professional. This is a professional sprinter, right? So we already know what the outcome is going to be, but let's see how she did. All right, let's take a look here. And I wonder. I think I'm recording this too just to kind of get this glimpse live. But let's see what happens. And I think this is okay. Yeah, let's see what happens. Okay. Oh, she's off. Dang, dang. Not even close. Let's look at this other view. Here we go. This is a better view though. This is like somebody with a drone or somebody from an elevated vantage point though. Let's take a look here. Look at this. Shoo! Wow. Yo. Yo. Wow. Wow. She's so fast that she has to run the whole length probably to like even just slow her down. Now if you was one of the parents in this race, are you salty or are you just kind of grateful and excited that you got to run to say that you ran a race against Shelly-Ann, right? Are you kind of disappointed? Are you mad? Are you jealous? Are you like, yo, man, what? Come on, sis. Like, we already know what you're capable of. Like, why you had to show us up like that? She smoked them parents. She smoked them parents. Like, look at this. Look at this. Like, it's not even. They're not even in the frame. Look, take a look again. Sure. Perfect. Damn. Now I ain't gonna lie, like if I'd have got smoked like that, I probably would have been a little bit salty. I'd have been like, "Come on, sis, like we already know what you capable of. Like, what was that all about? What are you doing? What are you doing for real? What are you doing?" But that had to be a fun little experience, whatever. That'd be like, yeah, that'd be like going against Michael Phelps in the pool, you having a parent versus a parent game and LeBron is in it. Steph Curry's in it, right? I mean, Steph Curry's like my contemporary in terms of like not by skill, but just by age, right? We about the same age, 37 years old. So like if Curry got in the game, bro, I'm not even keeping him, bro. I'm staying clear away from him. I don't even he gonna be running around screens. He gonna be shooting from more than half court, probably three quarters court, you know what I mean? Stuff like that. So but yeah, it is fun. It is a fun experience though. And like I said, I think I would enjoyed it just to say, yo, I seen her race live. Like I seen her speed live. And that probably was a dope thing though. But Shelly ain't know she wrong for smoking them parents like that though. So, but yeah, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think? All right. That was cool. That was cool. But speaking of parenting again, just kind of getting into some things. This is more of a reaction to maybe growing up in a certain way, growing up in a certain environment, and definitely trying to learn from how you were raised and trying to be different, right? Trying to be better, trying to be a different example, right? So, how many of y'all can say that when you were young, right? Because if you my generation, like how many of y'all were at any point in time were you a latchkey kid, right? A latchkey kid. So, a latchkey kid is just a kid that has a key to their own house, and then when they get home a lot of times before their parents. Sometimes you can be involved in things, but I was there was periods of time I was a latchkey kid because I definitely did activities. I played footballs and karate. But there were definitely periods in my life when I wasn't playing a sport that, yeah, I was responsible for getting home, and maybe I didn't always have to cook, but sometimes I did have to be self-sufficient. Um, but what kind of impact does that have on you? You know what I mean? Like I think in one way it does teach you some type of responsibility, but is some of the responsibilities that we learn, is it a little bit too soon to learn some of these things? All right, so let's just take a look at this video and tell me what you think. All right, so let's take a look here. So is this our parents abused us without knowing it? So that's how this the caption for this is. And just see this content creators. I am Stephen Owens or Steve Owens. It says for anyone trying to figure out why relationships in early adulthood are difficult, here you go. Who all can relate to this? Adulthood parents. Things I've learned. All right. So, and this might be a different way to think about it. Maybe you didn't think about it as what he's about to say, but what we think, take a look.
Abuse is two words: abnormal use. That is to say, anytime you are being used in a way that is not in true alignment with you, it's abuse. And neglect is a form of abuse. I'm a millennial. Some of y'all are Gen Xers, or God help y'all, boomers. Y'all were neglected too. We come from the latchkey era of life. When I was 8, I had a key to the house. I would let myself in. I would make myself something to eat, which was usually top ramen. Yes, I could cook at 8. I would do my homework and wait for my mom or my daddy to come home. And the moment I demonstrated competence in that area, all bets were off. My parents, I love y'all, but they took it and ran with it. They used that as an opportunity to leave me home every chance they got and went out and lived their own lives because they knew that I would be okay, or at least I acted like I was okay. You see, I had to pretend to not have needs, right? I had to not be needy. I had to squash my own needs down because I knew that my parents couldn't meet them, which is where the neglect came from in the first place. And I filled in a lot of the gaps in their parenting. At times, the parenting was flawed, and I filled in those gaps by showing up and being the good kid and all those things. So then, fast forward to my adult life, I look back on certain relationships and I realized, like, man, I filled in the gaps of other people's character flaws. I overcompensated. I gave more than I had to give. I showed up even when I didn't want to show up, when it didn't even honor myself. And I did all that in the name of empathy, but it wasn't empathy, it was self-betrayal. And that self-betrayal came from that silent form of abuse, neglect. So I don't know who that helps, but I know I ain't the only one.
Dang, he was kind of spitting some stuff there, right there. You know what? I don't think I ever looked at it as abuse for, and I don't even think I looked at some of the self-sufficiency and some of the things I had to, figure out on my own. I don't think I even looked at it as neglect. However, that's one thing that, because I've told y'all that I'm in therapy, and there are some things that when you start, a lot of times your therapist, they do try to pull some things, and they want to get a picture of what your childhood was like. And I would say that, I had that nuclear family, up until like maybe I was like 8 or 9. And then when my parents separated, it was kind of like all bets are off, whatever. And like, that's one thing I do notice that I struggle with is expressing my needs with things, because there was times when, like, I guess when I grew up, my needs didn't matter because I couldn't, I had no room to be needy. I had to kind of just figure it out. Um, and that was more so, I think things got more transient for me in like middle school and high school. And I was going back and forth based on choice, like a little bit my choice, of where I wanted to live. Sometimes it was circumstances, but sometimes it was choice. And then I remember when I was in high school, like, yeah, I had a baby sister. I'm 15 years older than one of my baby sisters. I have a even younger sister than that. So I was 15 years old, and she was a baby, and my dad worked like a really late second shift. And I think even kind of getting into third, he worked a little bit of third shift. And I remember that I had to make sure that I was home. I couldn't enjoy certain, I couldn't be out with my friends to do certain things. I had to be home because I had to watch my baby sister. And so, like, a lot of times my dad would cook food, but then sometimes I'd have to figure it out. But at the same time, if anything was kind of going on with me, I just had to kind of swallow it because my parents they was going through their own things that seemed a lot of times it seemed bigger than me, and they probably were a little bit more significant, I mean, than me, but so yeah, so I think you do carry unknowingly you carry some of those things into relationships, into interactions that you have when you're an adult, and it does suck. But I guess I never really looked at it as like neglect. I mean, that is a strong word. That's a strong word because I look at neglect as when you don't when your basic needs aren't being met, and I think my basic needs were always met by and large. But it's like, when it came to emotions and your feelings, like that stuff, that was very secondary. So I think he's speaking some truth. And yeah, it's definitely a different era. Like nowadays, parents are like, even me, I'm scared to like kind of like leave my son alone too much, and there's that weird balance that you got to have as a parent, because you do have to teach your kids to be self-sufficient, but how often do you make your kids have to be so like truly self-sufficient? And I think as a parent you have to walk a fine line, because you want to teach these things semi early, but then when you do notice, I guess the thing is, when you do notice that your kid is a little bit self-sufficient, I think you can't just take it and run with it. I think you still got to make sure you're a big presence in their life, and that they don't feel like they're out on an island, so to speak. And they got to be able to express the things that they need as well, because you don't want them carrying baggage, silent baggage like that, for the rest of their lives. So I thought that was pretty deep, and but yeah, I just what's your insight on that? What do you think? Do you feel can you relate to his situation, and do you feel like in what ways did it have an impact on your future relationships and friendships? I don't know. Tell me what you think. All right. Last thing, last regular reaction to just random videos. This is something that is definitely prevalent today. Definitely prevalent more so today. And this is talking about a double standard, and what we've seen in the media. And I've really noticed this in the last, like, 3 to 5 years. There's been a crazy uptick of incidents that involve uh, young males, right? Like teenage males and their female teachers, right? Their female teachers. Now, when I was growing up, obviously, stranger danger, and you would hear about cases, and it would be like a man. I mean, obviously having some type of crazy interactions with a young student. And we all know that's wrong, it's creepy, it's nasty, right? But and then now we're seeing all these cases with women, right? We're seeing all these cases with women, and I think then, like, my mindset a long time ago, then the reaction would have been excited, like, oh my God, like when Mary Kay Letourneau, when, like, I was young when that came out. I think I was thinking, like, man, like, yo, man, if I was that guy, if I was that kid, because as a young teenage boy whose hormones are raging, like, you understand that you do not have that much, you don't have the access to get girls in that way, and you don't have access to sex in the same way. So, like, I think a lot of times we would look at those situations and we think, like, man, this kid is lucky. But now that I'm older, I'm realizing, like, no, that's gross. And I've had a couple, even like little comment debates with people when some of these cases go awry, because the first, like, when you go to any of these headlines and these posts, right? I swear, the top quarter of the comments are men that are saying, like, yo, he's lucky, or like, he's dumb for telling, or this and that. Now, what I'm going to share with you is a rapper, Tech N9ne, right? Independent rapper Tech N9ne, and he actually talks about his own experience and kind of what he dealt with and how he dealt with it. But he had a situation where he was involved with a female teacher, and so we're going to react to it and then see what you guys think. All right, so here it says Tech N9ne opens up about sleeping with his seventh grade teacher and speaks on the double standard in society. So, and that's the thing. That's really young. That's really young. That's 11 or 12 years old if we keeping it a buck. Yeah, that's maybe up to 13, but yeah, that's a pretty young age. But let's see what he has to say. It says Tech N9ne, yeah, opens up about a very dark story that happened with his seventh grade teacher. So this is just World Star picked this up, but he was on a podcast. It looked like it's called Dumb Blonde or something like that. But let's watch.
Teacher. Can we go on that
Oh
journey?
man. I won't say no names.
Yeah.
She was young. She was 21. It all started when I showed her a picture of my father as a cop. You know what I'm saying? I had a picture of him in his LAPD outfit. And after that, after class, whenever everybody's leaving out, I'll be in there and she would say, "Aaron is so cute." And she was beautiful, you know? And I was like, "Oh, thank you." But she used to do it every day. "Aaron is so cute." Then I got to skipping lunch to go visit her while she's by herself, you know.
But you guys ended up getting caught, right?
We got caught by a student walking by.
Oh,
They
man.
called us to the office and called the teacher to the office too. And I was sweating.
I bet.
And they say her name, this is alarming. And she's like, "I would never with a student." You know, I remember her, you know, like pleading her case and being real serious, you know. Nothing happened.
Something happens in seventh grade.
All right, so all right, let's
We
finish.
didn't get in trouble because I didn't tell.
But you guys were you guys having
Yes.
in the classroom?
No. After school.
On school campuses though?
No,
okay.
no. Call home, see if you can help me after school. Can I help my teacher after school? And she'll bring me home, go to her house.
It's so hard for me to wrap my brain around that because I know coming from a man's point of view, it's like, oh, you got to bag the teacher, the older chick.
Like I said, I was in love.
Right. But if we switched places and it was a man doing that to a little
over.
girl,
It's
like,
over.
you know, like it's hard for me to kind of wrap my head around that
And
and
I don't
not be
bla-
mad at her for what happened to you.
Yeah. We didn't get in trouble because I didn't tell.
Yeah, so but yeah, that's the weird thing about the double standards because and some men would still look at that as like, yo, this young man, he achieved the conquest. There was a recent case that came up, and I expressed, I said, come on, man, like what, like y'all have to stop celebrating this. Y'all have to stop looking at this as a win. And then I kind of flip the script, and I'll be like, yo. So this is how you have to look at it. So for men that still think like that's okay, or that's like yo, that's big ups to this young man. This is how you have to look at it to maybe for you to realize how wrong it is, right? So imagine that woman was your sister. Imagine that woman was your mom or your aunt or your grandma or some other type of figure in your life, right? That was, I mean, or even worse, yeah. What if that woman was your wife, right? Like, would you if all right, first, like, before, let's get wife out of there or spouse out of there. If this was your relative, how would you look at that woman that was doing that type of stuff to a young male student, right? You wouldn't celebrate the student. You wouldn't be like, like, yo, like he bagged my mom, like, oh, he bagged sis, like, oh, he bagged auntie, whatever. No, you would look at your mom as a creep. You would look at your sister as a weirdo. You would look at your aunt as like a degenerate. Like you would have so much disdain for these women. You wouldn't even know who they are anymore. Like you really wouldn't know who they are. So in that same breath, if it ain't okay for somebody in your own life, a woman in your own life to do that to a kid, why do you think it's a big up for some random young man to do that with his female teacher? You know what I'm saying? But then even worse, right? what if that's your wife? And what if she was literally cheating on you with one of her young students, right? That like you wouldn't forgive her. You would not forgive her. You would not forgive her. And then on the other side, right? If you're the parent, because yeah, like I was having an argument with a guy and I even brought like, what if that was your son? What if that was your son and then the teacher got pregnant, right? This is a grown woman, right? She got pregnant and then she decided that she was not going to terminate that pregnancy, right? She was just going to go through with it. You would be livid because you would be like, you wouldn't dap your son up, you wouldn't give him a pat on the back. You would hate that woman because like now your son, right, who really knows rights, he knows right and wrong, but he doesn't know better when it comes to those type of situations. He don't know better. He don't he's going off for the instant gratification. But like you would be livid at that woman because now your son, your young child, your baby has to possibly care for a baby. And this woman, I mean, the women involved probably is gonna be going to jail. So like you have to bear and take care of, you have to help take care of this young child. Or unless you let the kid live with the woman and her extended family. But you would have to your kid would have to suffer and be a parent way before they're ready to be a parent. You know what I'm saying? So just again, like looking at it like in those lenses, that's to me, that's all you need to do to realize like and to shift your mind. That's thinking like, nah, bro, this ain't right. This ain't right. Now, he was definitely Tech N9ne is older, a lot older than me. So this was a different time period. The teacher was obviously probably a little younger than she probably should have been. She probably maybe I don't know. It is always a weird thing when like young teachers are teaching like middle school and high school because you're not that far in age. But like she was obviously just planting the seeds and she was grooming him, right? She was complimenting his dad's pictures and looking at him thinking like, well, yeah, like she probably was fantasizing about his father and just kind of taking what she can get. But also she probably was her frontal lobe probably wasn't fully developed and she probably on some she just on some weird stuff. You know what I mean? But definitely a different time. This woman was lying about it. Like we've seen these other cases where these women like kind of admit it or they get caught with evidence. Like they get whether it's text messages a lot of times. Sometimes it is a third party that catches you. And if you happen to catch your peer doing something with a teacher, like you're not a snitch if you come forward because that's the thing. That's a cancer, bro. Like we have to cut that type of behavior and those people that with that mindset, we have to get them out of the education world. Like they don't need to be around our kids. You know what I'm saying? And that's how you gotta look at it. But I know a lot of people, man, they think about the instant gratification and you know the pats on the back and like they think it's big stuff, but it's like, bro, that shit is nasty, man. That shit is gross. And you gotta remember that, man. It's a kid. At the end of the day, it's a kid. So, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think? Leave a comment below. I know that's a little bit heavy there, but we're about to get into our main topics here, and I'm trying to think. Are we gonna start with sinners? Or are we gonna start with the NFL draft? Let me see. Gotta look at my notes here for a second. What are we gonna start with? I think I know where we're starting, but I think but I don't want to say. Yeah. I think okay. Yes, 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 yes. All right. Here we go. Let's talk about the NFL draft. NFL draft time. All right, man. So I definitely got some commentary for the draft. I don't have any videos to share with this content. It's just, just me kind of breaking some stuff down. So obviously, when you watch the first off, let me say this. I used to love watching the NFL draft when I was a kid, but I used to love it when it was a 2 day event when you'd see like rounds 1 through 4 or 1 through 3 on Saturday, and then you'd see 4, 5, 6, 7, or maybe 5, 6, 7 on Sunday, right? And it was an all day event. I mean, it was something that I mean, because like it was a little bit earlier in April back in the day, and so like the weather was still kind of it might not even be a nice day outside. It might be still a little bit chilly. So like You know what I mean? You're not forced or pressed to be outside. You'll watch the draft all day. And it was amazing. It was amazing. I thought when they decided to kind of break it down and make it a prime time thing, I thought initially it was cool because it was like, damn, yeah, we get this first round on like a Thursday, and then it carries on and it's more days. However, I'm realizing I don't like it as much, right? Because now I there's no incentive to watch the draft anymore. It's too broken up. It's too broken up. And the first round still takes 3 hours. It still takes more than 3 hours to get through. I'm not watching no 3 hour. I'm not watching 3 to 3.5 hours of TV just to get through one round of NFL picks. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. It's way too long. It's unnecessary. It's excessive, right? So I know they won't change it because enough people watch it for them to think that it's good TV, but it's not good TV. But I probably won't watch the draft. So like, but I follow it. So I'm keeping up with what's going on. Keeping up with what's going on. So obviously I'm a Packers fan. So talk about our first round draft pick and everything like that. We're gonna get into that. However, we're gonna talk about some surprises, right, and some reaches that we've seen in this draft, right? So, so first off, though, we see, and we're gonna give a little bit of commentary to this, but um, so first overall pick was Cam Ward, and a lot of people expected that. Now, some people did think that Shedeur Sanders was gonna go pretty early, and it was like a competition between the two. First off, though, we gotta say that this was not a strong quarterback draft. Like this is not a strong quarterback draft at all. A lot of people say that this was actually a lineman draft. This was a good like lineman draft. And it was like there was and my team, we feasted. We got a couple, I think we got more than one lineman, but definitely, yeah, we did get more than one lineman. And just kind of thinking about you look at what the Eagles did and they dominated because they literally had the best offensive line, the biggest offensive line and best. So this was the year to bolster up your line to try to you can't duplicate what they got going on because ain't nobody's playing like Saquon Barkley, but you can still you understand that the front seven is where is that's that's where you build, that's where you win championships, that's how you win, right? So it wasn't a good quarterback draft. And there was good positions like late in the draft for certain positions. And hopefully whoever you like, hopefully your team drafted who you kind of desired for them to draft, right? So Cam Ward goes number one to the Titans, and the Titans now they're starting over again. They had Will Levis, they had Malik Willis a couple years ago. The Packers have Malik Willis now. Will Levis now he's trade bait, and he hasn't really shown much, but there's not much talent down there in Tennessee for him to show out anyway. So yeah, man, it's Cam Ward. He's number one, but he's gonna have an uphill battle, man, playing for a Tennessee franchise that is just not too good. And then one of the biggest surprises, it happened early in the draft. I think a lot of people felt that Travis Hunter might go like 4 or 5 to somewhere. People thought that he might go to the Patriots, right, at like pick 4. But the the Jacksonville Jaguars. They traded up to number 2. I think they traded with the Browns and they went out and got Travis Hunter. So Travis Hunter, I think he's going to be playing primarily as a receiver, right? So now but they said that they're going to probably be playing him because he wants to play both sides of the ball. They'll probably play him late in games on defense, right? And just to be kind of creative, but he is going to be primarily playing lining up as a receiver. I think he's a really good receiver. Now, the one little video where I saw him running routes, it didn't look too good. I don't know what the heck he was doing, but Travis Hunter, one thing I gotta say about him is he's a student of the game. He's dedicated, and whatever he has to do, he's gonna learn and fine tune that, and he's gonna give it all what he got. But now the Jaguars, they have Brian Thomas Jr. and now they got Travis Hunter. They have some other pieces in there. I know they lost some pieces, but hopefully Trevor Lawrence comes back and they got some running backs. They got a little two-headed thing going on in the backfield, and we'll see where they go. All right. But yeah, that was a big move there. Another surprise was probably like Tyler Warren kind of slipping back to the 12th pick, 11th or 12th pick. He went to the Colts, and there was another tight end, Colson Loveland, who got drafted before him. But everybody thought that was like kind of crazy because it's like the clear number one tight end in the draft was Tyler Warren, and you didn't go out and get that guy. You went and got something else. Now, so that was pretty wild. Ashton Genty going to the Raiders. Wow, that was a good pickup for them. They did draft a running back last year. I think was Zamir White. Zamir White, his name. And he didn't really have a great season. Now it's new ownership with Tom Brady at the helm. They have a newer quarterback with Geno. The receiving core is a little iffy there, but I think they're gonna give Genty the ball 25 times a game. And I think they're gonna lean on him. Now he's definitely somebody that deserved to go top 10, proven back, but nowadays it's not really popular to draft a running back in the first round anymore because people feel like running backs are a premium. People like Saquon, people like Derrick Henry, these are veterans. I think they definitely their seasons that they had, they're looking to like buck that trend and kind of increase the value of running backs again. The Packers, we picked up Josh Jacobs, and Josh Jacobs had an amazing season. I think his most rushing yards that he's had. No, no, probably second most rushing yards he's had in the season with us. So yeah, man, like running backs are still important. First round important. I think it depends on who you got. I think though with the Raiders, I don't know if he's necessarily gonna have a great career. It's too early to say, but I think they made the right move and it was a splash move. And I think there's a reason why they didn't take Shedeur. It's because they have Geno and they want the Raiders, the black hole, they want the Raiders faithful to kind of buy into them. If you draft a guy like Shador, it becomes especially first round, it becomes a quarterback controversy, right? And then just a big pick. I think, Eagles got a linebacker that they needed. I felt like teams like that, they always get the players that they need and want. Even though they're drafting at the back of the draft. Same thing with the Ravens. The Ravens always get that guy that like they need and want. And it'll be a defensive player that will pass up on. And I kind it gets on my nerves a little bit. And so with the Packers, I'm getting to my Packers now. So we had a couple different needs. We needed pass rush, we needed a receiver, and a cornerback, and then lineman was like a low key need for us. So just wondering what we're gonna do. There was some good edge rushers, but then there was a lot that like even if we didn't pick one, there was still value in the second round that we could have got, right? So we weren't going to reach for edge rusher. Corners, I think that was probably, other than receiver, that's probably definitely a glaring need that we had. And I think we were trying, I don't know if maybe they just didn't believe in the corners that were left. I think they wanted to get if you were going to get a corner, you was going to get one a little bit early on, right? Hold on. So then it's wide receiver, and I'm looking at the board. I'm looking at the board, and the wide receiver that I wanted, he was on the board. He was on the board. And so Mark Murphy, our team president, because we don't have an owner, our team president goes up there and he makes an announcement. He says the first time since 2002, and everybody knew what it was. The Packers select wide receiver from University of Texas, Matthew Golden, and I am pumped. Now I've seen some haters already saying something. Oh, he ain't that good. Man, Matthew Golden is nice. Now this has no impact on anything, but I used to do when I was playing Madden, last year's Madden, and I would upload draft classes. You know what I mean? Because people would make them. I remember Matthew Golden was on my Packers team. Like so it to me it feels like, yo, this is kismet. This is meant to be, right? And he was a beast. Now, fastest man in this year's draft, he ran a 4.29, right? So that's I mean, we're not used to getting a guy like that, right? This is a guy that although he's smaller, he still knows how to high point a ball, right? He goes up and gets those passes. So he's a deep threat, but he's a smooth route runner, and he can kill you in the slide. He can kill you in intermediate routes, right? And it's just something that we need because we need that splash. We need somebody that is first round caliber that can possibly be the number one receiver. And because we waited 3 years, 3 seasons, and Christian Watson didn't really develop into that number one, right? He was a guy we got in the second round. Romeo Dobbs did not develop into that number one. I think Jaden Reed came coming in early in the season. To me, he was our best player. He was our best receiver. Early in the season, I was like, yeah, he's our best playmaker. He's still not really a number one. I think Dontavian Wicks is really good. He's a smooth route runner. He gets open. He gets good separation. He struggled with some drops last year. Um, but Matthew Golden, he's a pretty short-handed receiver. Like I said, scores touchdowns, scores deep touchdowns, and makes moves. So yeah, some people are saying automatically like, "Yo, this is a slap in the face to Aaron Rodgers," and like, how could they? You know what I mean, why? What made them wait all this time? I don't know, man. I think in other years we had other needs, and I think they believed that Rodgers he could pretty much make any receiver good because yeah, we had a lot of receivers over the years that probably were kind of mid, probably under any other quarterback. But like, our franchise felt that like, no, like we can, and it did backfire for us. You know what I'm saying? But like, Devontae was not a first round draft pick. Yeah, I mean Devontae Adams. I mean Aaron Rodgers is a big contributor to his success. Jordy Nelson was not a first round draft pick. You know what I'm saying? And he did wonders with him. So I think we thought that we could do more with less, but obviously over the years that kind of it comes back to bite you. But like yes, we got that receiver, and apparently Christian Watson's dad. I guess he has some type of platform. He has a podcast. Probably a little more popular than me as well. But at the same time, he was vocal and he was saying, "Oh, they don't want to win," and I think he's upset now. Christian Watson, he tore his ACL in week 18. So he won't be back. Like he's still gonna be out like 3 months at the beginning of the season. Now things can change from here to then, from now to then. However, I don't see it, and he's in a contract year. He wasn't a first round draft pick, so like there's no fifth year option for him. So like yeah, we had to think about the future, and we had to think about like, all right, man, what does life look like without Christian Watson, without Romeo Dobbs? Yes, we have Wicks, we have Reed, we got the tight ends. You know what I mean, because I think Musgrave's still gonna be a beast. Tucker Craft, I think he is a beast. You know what I'm saying? So it's just a matter of time. It's just a matter of time. But like, shout out to the Packers, man, for making the fans happy and getting that wide receiver, man. So other than that, when it comes to the draft, last thing we're gonna talk about obviously is, man, the historic. It's only historic because of how much it was talked about, but the historic draft slide of Shedeur Sanders. So everybody was like, I was even surprised, like when he was on the board, just because he was, scouts had him, like scouts and analysts, particularly Mel Kiper. Mel Kiper Jr. had him, I mean, as the second quarterback off the board. Like he should have been the second quarterback off the board. Second quarterback off the board was Jackson Dart, right? I forget where I think he went to Ole Miss, but he got drafted to the Giants. And the Giants were a team that, a lot of people expected that Shador would go to. However, there's a lot of narratives going around. A lot of narratives going around. So obviously, off the rip, people made this about race, right? People made this about Deion Sanders. People made this about just when they say race. When I say race, some of it may be racist, but like I think calling the NFL plantation again, like getting into those narratives, and it's just like, come on, man. As much as I love players and I want them to succeed, I think we gotta get out of this mindset that like, yo, it's not your God given right to be a football player, right? Like you still are employed to something, even don't matter how great you are. I don't think it's a personal attack against Shedeur Sanders. I think it has to do with like I think partly maybe some of it is like trying to set an example. I think also too another thing that could be true. Maybe Shador really is not that good, right? Maybe he wouldn't even have those the opportunities he had in college if his dad wasn't his coach. Would he have been the starter at Jackson State if it wasn't for his dad? Would he have been the starter at Colorado if it wasn't for his dad? I don't know. And that now it makes you look at those things, right? So one thing, like, so I'm gonna point out something. So got a couple things to talk about. So people automatically they looked at Shedeur Sanders' stats and they were saying like, "Yo, how can they not draft this guy because he did this, this, and this, right?" But he didn't win any significant games, right? He didn't, he 9-3 in the second season. I think they were 7-5 in their first season. So he's not like a prolific winner. So he didn't show winning capabilities. Did he put up yards? Yeah, he had some good games. They say that he holds the ball too much. He takes too many sacks, and they say he doesn't run motion. Like he doesn't run sophisticated offenses, right? So maybe he doesn't really know how to really run like an NFL pro style offense. But one thing I would say is that your stats in college actually don't determine where you're going to get drafted, right? Because I've seen quarterbacks that have won the Heisman get drafted late. I've seen quarterbacks that have won national championships get drafted late. I've even seen quarterbacks that have set records in college football that got drafted late, right? So just some names for examples, right? So y'all remember, like you probably don't remember. So he's the coach now of University of Tennessee, Josh Heupel. Josh Heupel won the Heisman, right, for Oklahoma. He was like an afterthought. Remember Ken Dorsey? Ken Dorsey, when he was with the Miami Hurricanes, some people look at that as the greatest college football team that did not win a championship, right? Probably one of like in terms of talent, right? And people thought Ken Dorsey was good. Nobody thought that Ken Dorsey was weak. Ken Dorsey, I think, got drafted in the seventh round. You know what I'm saying? And he played on great teams. I remember the quarterback, Timmy Chang. Timmy Chang was setting records in college football. He was an afterthought. I don't think I mean, it didn't necessarily translate. So Your measurables matter. And I think it's your intelligence that matters, right? They're testing when they're interviewing. This is what I learned too, especially this year a lot because everybody was focusing on these interviews. So yes, so just to go back, so you could break records, you can win national titles, and you can win Heisman trophies and still not get drafted where you want to get drafted as a quarterback. So what you do on the field does not matter. What kept coming up though was the fact that Shedeur Sanders did not do well in a lot of his interviews, right? So in these interviews, so the one team where it's become public of how he conducted himself in interviews was with the Giants. Now you could say what you want about the New York Giants. You could say they're a weak franchise. They don't know what they're doing. They still have 4 Super Bowls in the totality of their franchise. So you could say those criticisms, but what happened was he got homework, right? So like you're doing draft day interviews with all these teams, and pretty much the teams that are expected to possibly draft you, and they gave him an install package, right? So they gave him basically a play, and he needed to answer questions based off of a package, based off of a scheme, and they said that Shedeur Sanders was not prepared. They said like he didn't know how to answer the questions. And like I said previously, right? He did not run sophisticated offenses when he was in college. He did not run a pro style offense when he was in college. So he probably don't necessarily know the X's and O's. Or maybe he decided, oh, I don't care that much, right? I don't care that much, so I'm not gonna prepare. They said he was so unprepared. And then Brian Dable, the coach for the Giants, called him out about it. And they said that Shedeur Sanders had an attitude that he called him out. So it's like there that looks like to me, if I'm the GM, if I'm the owner, that looks like a guy that don't have no accountability. That looks like a guy that is uncoachable, right? That's what it looks like. That's what it looks like. Whether that's true or not at the pro level, it still remains to be seen. But like again, your interviews is that's the first time you're with teams. Your first impressions are everything. People talk about first impressions all the time. But then a lot of teams said that like, and some of these teams are anonymous, but they said a lot of teams were like, "Yo, yeah, like probably the least prepared interview I've ever had in my life." Like he was kind of going around like being smug a little bit. Now you hear reports about him wearing gold chains and his hats, and so I don't know if that was a factor or not, but simply they didn't think that he was a pro stock quarterback. And the unfortunate thing about this is the fact that Shedeur Sanders going now he finally got drafted in the fifth round. Now I thought that was a little bit late because we've seen teams take chances on worse players. So there is the other side of it, right? So yeah, record setting, winning quarterbacks don't always get drafted high, but also we've seen teams take a chance on prospects that are clearly weaker than somebody like a Shedeur Sanders, and they end up paying for it, right? And but what's unfortunate about Shador's slide is that it overshadowed Kim Ward going number one, and it to me it debunks the. I mean, we all know. I mean, NFL has a strong black presence, right? But we can't say that the league is racist if the number one pick was also a black quarterback, right? And it's unfortunate though that it's like Shador kind of stole his shine, even though he was drafted on the third day, he was drafted on Saturday. Like everybody's forgetting that, like, oh no, the Titans selected Kim Ward, like, and they believed in him, and he's somebody that earned his way up, right? Like he was a zero star prospect going into college, right? And then he's somebody that he had some checkers on his he had some blemishes on his record in terms of there was like a game where he set a record and then he like sat out and his team lost. But I was hearing about Kim Ward all year. I was hearing about this Miami quarterback that was killing it. And but again, this was not the best draft for quarterbacks. But it is unfortunate that like Shador Sanders, when he finally gets picked, that's a bigger headline and that matters to people than more than Cam Ward going number one. So I don't know what you think. I think maybe this was a reaction to and I think Dion did not do his son any favors. Dion has kind of been in his he's allowed to be in his son's corner, but you can't be in your son's way. So Dion was very vocal in saying, and there's obviously viral quotable video of him saying this. He said, I know what's behind the curtain. He said, there's certain teams that I will not allow my son to play for. Well, you know what I mean, unless you go and name them teams, so those specific teams can like exclude themselves. If I'm an owner, I hear that and I'm thinking like, oh, this is gonna be a headache. This is gonna be a circus. And so people are making it like, oh, they set an example. Maybe for the Nepo, the football Nepo babies, you know what I'm saying? The Nepo, you know what I mean? Of football. Maybe the NIL divas of the world, right? Because Shador will be fine. Like obviously, you know what I mean, he comes from wealth. He's gonna be fine. He earned his own wealth in college football, so he'll be fine. But now the only thing that he could do is he has to prove it on the field. So he's either gonna make everybody look dumb or everybody else is gonna look smart and he'll fizzle out. Now he went to the Browns. The Browns got like five quarterbacks right now. that's probably the worst team that he could have went to. I think there's some teams that would have benefited him to go to. Like anybody that has a veteran quarterback or a star quarterback, somebody that he can learn under, that he don't got to take their place. I think that would have been ideal. So him getting drafted by the Ravens, backing up Lamar, backing up Jalen Hurts with the Eagles, backing up Joe Burrow with the Bengals because Joe Burrow gets hurt. So like you might play. Backing up Justin Herbert with the Chargers. Herbert began hurt, bro. He began hurt. Backing up back when they did get Joe Milton, they did get that Milton kid, Dallas, but backing up a Dak Prescott, backing up a Baker Mayfield because Baker be, he be running around getting hurt out there. I mean, shoot, the Rams selecting him and maybe him being the future of the Rams. I mean, he would have a guy like Puka Nakua, on his team because Matthew Stafford ain't got that much time left. I mean, but it's probably best that he did not go to the Jets, though. It's probably best that he didn't go get drafted by like the Colts. But the Browns are in that same boat. I think a lot of people thought the Steelers were going to draft him. The Steelers had a lot of everybody had opportunity. So like it wasn't just the people in the first round. Everybody had two or three chances to draft Shedeur, and nobody did. So like either Mel Kiper is losing his touch and he inflated his rankings, or he's the smartest man and the Browns will benefit one day or some other future team. But only time will tell. Only time will tell. What do you think about this year's draft? Obviously, we didn't have a deep analysis of the draft because I mean that's a lot of teams, a lot of picks, right? But I just definitely wanted to highlight some of the more prominent selections in this year's draft. But now we're gonna get into our Sinners review. All right. So have you seen Sinners? Have you seen Sinners? So man, first off, I gotta say about Sinners, man, this is one of the bro. First off, I'm a tough critic. I'm a tough critic. So I'm gonna start off with what I thought about the movie, like or my ranking of the movie, and then we're gonna get into all the nuances and stuff like that. So for me, I thought a 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10. Now, I anticipated this movie prior to it coming out. So I thought the marketing of this movie was amazing. They did their thing. They did their big one, right, with this. Because I known about this movie for months. And then even the weeks prior, I thought it came out like 3 weeks ago because I seen people they had access to it. Like they had like early access to Sinners and it was nothing but good things, right? Nothing but good things. Then when it comes out, I couldn't see it that first weekend, so I was a little disappointed, but I did see it last weekend. And it's a 10 out for me, it's a 10 out of 10. Rotten Tomatoes, when it first dropped, that first week that it dropped, there was a period of time. Now it was short lived, but there was a period of time that it had 100% Rotten Tomatoes rating. So that means that Rotten Tomatoes is just like, is it good or bad? Do you like it or you don't like it? Right? It's not no nuance type of thing. So whenever a rating is 100% Rotten Tomatoes, that means 0% of critics and audience gave it a negative review. Everybody gave it a positive. Everybody that went. So it's sitting at, last time I looked, it was still sitting at 96%, 97%. That's nearly flawless. That means that this is a great movie. Then I was seeing people that I know personally on social media. They were talking about it. They were talking well about it, and they were giving like honest feedback. And I was already pumped. I was like, "Yo, yes, I trust this person's opinion. I'm gonna go see it. I trust this person's opinion." Yeah. So I had high expectations of Sinners already, and it met all those expectations. So I'm not gonna say that for the end. I'm gonna tell you, you gotta go see Sinners. You gotta go see it right now. Go see it. Go see it. But it's definitely a movie that Hollywood needed, right? Because everybody's talking about how like original stories are dying, and like the only thing that we see nowadays are remakes and reboots. So it was something that Hollywood needed, right? In terms of originality. This is something that everybody. This is a movie. I don't know what's the other outside of like superhero movies. There hasn't. When's the last time somebody was? I probably actually last summer Oppenheimer, but like a movie where everybody's talking about it, and I don't think even everybody was talking about Oppenheimer because That one was a little bit longer. It did get a lot of like positive reviews, but this one it was different. And then this is something that like black cinema needed, because the only reason why I criticize Tyler Perry is because it just feels like he has a monopoly on black film, when that wasn't. It didn't feel like, when Spike Lee was the man, it didn't feel like that, because there was John Singleton, there were some other directors out there, but black cinema needed this, because this one, it opens the door for other creatives. It opens the door because now studios are gonna look at these scripts from some of these black screenwriters and directors, and they're gonna be like, oh no, maybe this will work as well. This will work too. So yeah, black cinema needed this. Also, just to kind of, yeah, gotta get out of that Perry, that TP shower, man. You gotta get out of that, so people know that. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of actors that can be taken like very seriously. So yeah, so definitely amazing. So one thing now I wanted to share real quick was, so Ryan Coogler, he did something a little bit unprecedented, and he signed the deal that he signed for this movie is unlike any other deal that we've seen in a long time. And we're going to share that because I don't want to mess up the details on that. But let's take a look at what his deal was with this movie, and how he's going to stand to make money off this movie for a long time. Now, I don't know who this old lady is, but this is just from the page Democracy Now! But yeah, this talks about the deal that he signed. So let's look at this. It says Smart Brother. So let's look at it.
And talk about what you negotiated in making Sinners, the arrangement you had with Warner Brothers. The New York Times reports Warner Brothers agreed to spend $90 million to make Sinners, and agreed to give you a cut of gross ticket sales, now rare arrangement known as first dollar gross, meaning before they recoup their costs, you're getting money as well. Warner also agreed, and this is absolutely key, to relinquish its ownership of the film to you after 25 years. The Times reports, quote, some rival film companies were horrified that Warner Brothers would give a film away even after a period of time.
I'll maybe add some context that maybe those articles didn't add. I'm not the first filmmaker to get any of these deals.
Okay.
And
that's a good thing to note. So he's not the first to get these deals, but probably the first that look like him. So let's keep going.
Warner Brothers is not the first studio to provide these deals to a filmmaker. So like I think that a lot has been made of my deal in particular. I'm not totally sure why. I have my guesses, but I've been in the industry long enough to know what kind of deals are possible, and nothing about this deal is a new thing,
What's your guesses,
Ryan? It
is
not a I'd rather not say, but the attention on. The attention on what's happening with this project, outside of it as a piece of art and as a piece of commerce has been very interesting, But for me, this film was very important to me. As a writer director, I've made over $2 billion at the global box office. I'm not yet 40 years old. It's taken a lot of time, commitment, energy, and I've missed out on a lot of things in my life. Making films that will always be owned by other people. For this one, because it was so personal, and because I had the ability to negotiate. I asked for a few things that were very important to me for this project. And for what it was about and what it meant to me and my family, and thankfully, I was able to get those things I was asking for from Warner Brothers.
And talk about what you.
There you go. So I do commend the interviewer there. she's asking great questions. We all know what his guesses are. And I'm gonna speak for him. So obviously, yeah, like studios, they were appalled because he's a young black director, screenwriter. That yes, he does. He did both of the Black Panther movies, right? He has some other films in the tug too that he's been a part of. And obviously, yeah, $2 billion in the box office because he did those big Marvel movies. However, I think with an original story, something that there's nothing to kind of stand on. There's no example for it. It's not a remake. It's a completely original film. It might be a risk to some, but it's only a risk because he's a black man, right? He's a black, you know, director from, you know what I mean? And you could hear that West Coast accent, you know what I'm saying? He from around the way. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think it's kind of provocative for film studios to kind of invest in somebody like him. But now, like, it's, yeah, film studios are like, this film is gonna get him, way more film deals in the future. And it's like, oh, it's not just because it's Marvel. Right, because yeah, like you could chalk it to saying, "Oh, it's Marvel." Like those movies gonna sell regardless. But like, yeah, he had everybody doing Wakanda Forever back in, like, was it when that first came out? 2016, 2017, 2018. Like he had everybody doing Wakanda Forever. So like Ryan Coogler, man, yeah, bro. He's that guy. He's that guy. So shout out to him for that deal. So yeah, I definitely wanted to touch base on that, and we obviously can see what he got going on. So I'm gonna just get into things I'm gonna praise about the film, and then we're gonna try to get into some critiques, and then maybe if we have time, maybe get into some of the symbolism. And we might have to save some of that symbolism for another episode, but so yeah, let's talk about the things that are to praise. So the acting was amazing, man. The acting in this film was amazing. Michael B. Jordan. He is one of my favorite actors. I root for Michael B. Jordan. I have like a soft spot for him because of I seen him as a young actor in The Wire, in Friday Night Lights, right? Loved him in those movies. Fruitvale Station was amazing, right? And then all his other roles in between where it's like, all right, it's cool. Creed, obviously, and he is our big box. He is like that, the new generation of big box blockbuster actors, right? So I'm always rooting for Michael B. Jordan. There are some jokes though about that I have about Michael B. Jordan. So although I do like him, I feel that like when I because I've been examining this because the running joke is that like Michael B. Jordan doesn't talk a lot in his films, right? He doesn't really, he's all face, like he's just a face actor, like he doesn't, and like he does a good job with the faces, but like maybe he's not that great of an actor because we don't see the dialogue a lot. And like, yeah, that was the case. If you watch Friday Night Lights today, you're gonna see like there's a lot of episodes where yeah, he's just in scenes just like making his little faces and stuff like that. And so this was, I think this is one of Killmonger, his performance in Black Panther as Killmonger, that was great, but it was still like, what I mean, it was a Marvel character. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's like, all right, whatever, you know what I mean? This is one of his best performances, and it's partly because my man had to play two roles, and this is the most we've ever seen him speak in any Hollywood film that he's ever been in, and him playing two different personalities, two different characters, playing the twins. Amazing, amazing. Like I can't believe like they pulled it off too. And it was good, and it make you believe like, yo, like if you never seen Michael B. Jordan before, you probably are gonna think that he has a twin. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I think he did an amazing job there. The acting was good, stellar roles. I think that so $90 million is not the biggest budget. That's kind of a tight budget for a film of this magnitude and this notoriety, right? But what I noticed is that when you look at the cast, the biggest actor was Michael B. Jordan. After that, it's a lot of either unknowns. It's a lot of people that maybe not have reached their potential. No, there's a couple names that we know. We know Haley Steinfeld, right? But like she's still young. She's still young. We know Delroy Lindo. Now he's a legend, right? Yeah, I mean, but he never was like a legend in terms of like he never was like Denzel level or Forrest Whitaker level or Lawrence Fishburne or Samuel L. Jackson or Morgan Freeman. Like he's not on that level, right? So he's kind of like, C, B, C type, you know, um, level of an actor, but like he did an amazing job. I think everybody did really well in their roles and the fact that it was just pretty much Michael B as the main star, it was for whatever reason we didn't get flooded with all these just names and faces. It was like, yo, these people had to really act, and it showed and it came about, right? So I thought that was amazing. I thought the original yeah, I think everybody did good, and I think it was smart not to cast too many big names, right? I think also just the original story. I think it was pretty solid. I like a historical piece, a period piece where we're getting into the nuances of what life was like in those previous times. I thought it was great. The cinematography was great, and it was a black female cinematographer, and they talking about like, yeah, she's breaking down glass ceilings, with that type of stuff. So I thought that was amazing. Um, and yeah, overall, man, it's something that I would definitely go see again. Like, and I definitely want to see again. I know a lot of people that have already seen it again, right? Small critiques, small critiques. The only thing I think of, and when I think of this, is obviously you can tell that the budget was so $90 million. That sounds like it's a lot of money, but it's not when we think about even think about the movies that Ryan Coogler has done. So a couple of things about the budget, you could tell that it was tight because when you think about it, right, most of the film, majority of the film is filmed in one room, right? It's in the juke joint, right? So that's how you save money. You save money also by making Michael B. Jordan play two characters, right? So that was another way. So like the budget was kind of obvious that it was kind of low. That's not really a fault. I think that just means that Ryan Coogler had to get creative and he did the best with the resources that he had. The only other small critique was just the fact, like, obviously, it's hard to define the genre of this because in some instances you could say it's a horror movie. Some instances you could say it's historical fiction. There was definitely a mystical element there. I thought that it was just weird, and I didn't know this. This is a trope. This is a vampire trope in a lot of vampire stories. But like it was because I was just thinking like, all right, man, these vampires about to just take over. It's about to be over. You know what I mean? For these people, like, what are they gonna do? And it was just this idea that like, oh well, if you don't invite them in, like they can't come in. So like I'm like, that's all it takes. It just takes that, and then I learned like, no, that's a common thing with vampire movies and vampire content that like, yeah, they can only come into your house if you let them in your house. Like they can't just like break in there. So I thought that was a little weird, but like again, that's that's small potatoes. That's not even nothing to like critique about, or nothing to say that it didn't downgrade the movie at all. But speaking of budget, I did want to share one little video with y'all as it relates to the budget. And let me know what you think there about this. Hold on. All right, so here you go. So this is a good. I like this page. I kind of recently discovered this page called Stage Runner, and he be having all of the facts about films and movies and TV shows and just behind the scenes in terms of production. So let's take a look at this. And this talks about the budget here.
In the movie, now see where and how it was shot. This is how they made Sinners. Welcome to Stage Runner, your source for what's shooting and where. As with all movies, it starts on the page. Ryan Coogler wrote Sinners in just 2 months in late 2023. The project then sparked a bidding war in spring 24, with Warner Brothers winning out and giving it a ridiculously short turnaround time. Camera started rolling in April 2024, with a planned release date just a year later. Producer Sev Ohanian told Variety, "The timeline we were aiming to make the film in was so tight, it was almost literally impossible." They shot partially on location in Louisiana under the working title Grilled Cheese, because Coogler said he wanted the movie to feel like a home-cooked meal. Sinners shot on film using a combination of 65mm IMAX and Ultra 70 Panavision cameras. The cast and crew braved 100-degree days with 80% humidity as they filmed in places like Donaldsonville, where Railroad Avenue was turned into a 1930s street. Construction coordinator Eric Van Haren built more than a dozen small businesses, including the Chow's grocery store. The exterior of the juke joint, meanwhile, was erected in Braithwaite on an abandoned golf course. The movie's centerpiece musical number, which combines past and future genres, took months of planning. The cast and crew department heads all attended rehearsals for the shot, which were filmed on video and then sent to composer Ludwig Göransson so he could compose the music. During production, they only had 1 day to shoot that sequence on a soundstage, which they accomplished with an 80-pound IMAX camera strapped to a Steadicam. The large format IMAX frame was crucial in depicting all of the action and characters. Göransson then added additional authenticity by using period-accurate instruments, like a 1932 Dobro Cyclops slide guitar and a drum machine from the dawn of hip-hop. Filming then wrapped in July 2024, and in total, the production spent $67.6 million on location in Louisiana out of its total $90 million budget. You've seen the movie, now see where and how it was shot.
So yeah, they're saying that like it's important that like when you think about how movies are filmed and the budgets that go with it, and what they mean to like communities that in which they do it in. So like they locally outsource a lot of different things, and you know that movie brought $67 million to that area because they needed the resources of that area. So I thought that was pretty cool. Probably the other bit was probably to pay Michael B. Jordan. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's dope. I think that's dope. Like I said, I don't really have too many critiques. I know I'm a tough critic, but like I said, this movie was solid, man. I guess we get into some symbolism and messages. I think one of the biggest messages that comes from this film is just this aspect of like, yo, maybe you should not trust white women. You know what I'm saying? And I know I'll probably get a little flack for saying that or agreeing with that, but obviously the character Mary, right, who was Haley Steinfeld, she definitely was somebody that I didn't like. I did not like her character. And again, that doesn't take away from the movie. You're allowed to like not like characters in a movie and still like really love the movie. So I didn't like her character because this girl admitted that her granddad was half black, right? So that made her like 1/16 black. And I granted, yeah, back then one drop rule, right? But like, no, sis, like you do not get to be in our spaces the way that she was in their spaces. Like she made it seem like she was half black. You know what I'm saying? The way as heavy as she was talking and talking about some pass for white, she was white. It ain't no she could pass for white. She was absolutely white. Like there's a difference. There's a difference. Passing for white is like, you know what I'm saying? You might be like 25% black, but then you got like little nap to your hair or something like that. You got some certain little features. She looked white. She looked white. She was clearly white, but they try to make it seem like she was like they made it seem like she was this ultra super light skinned girl, right? But don't trust them, man. The boy Stack was already not on her type of time. He already told her like he cared about her, but he was already telling her like, yo, don't come, like, get away from me, whatever, get away. They let her in the party, and then she just felt like she had all this control and all this juice, and she was like, yo, no, I'm gonna talk to these crazy white people out here, and I'm gonna convince them, right? Even though everybody thought that these white people was a little bit crazy, she just thought she had way more wisdom, and she was talking crazy to people. I thought she was a little bit. One of my friends said this too. she was a little bit too modern for the movie, right? Like, even, yeah, just the language that she was talking, like just the way she was popping off. Even the girl Ann, the black woman Ann, she wasn't cussing as much, and that's what I'm saying. Like they made that girl Mary mad vulgar, like super vulgar, and acting like she had some authority when she had the least. Like she had the least amount of power in that movie. You know what I'm saying? So like that, yeah. But yeah, don't trust white women. But another message would be to you gotta trust the black women that are in your life, right? So if you got black women in your corner, I mean, a lot of times they talking that shit, man, and you gotta take heed, man. They got some advice for you. They got some gems for you. They got some ways for you to not steer the wrong path. And I feel like, yeah, if and even in the scene, like when Mary thought she was about to go out, if I think if Ann was right there, she would have told her like, no, you ain't going nowhere. You know what I mean? And maybe she would listen to Ann. So. I thought so. Yeah, that's definitely something. I think there's definitely. I like how they played on the elements of like music and being like. I think music is like a gate. They didn't make it just seem like music was like evil automatically, even though that was one of the messages. I think they showed that music can be a gateway for good and evil, right? Because obviously from the religious standpoint and just back in that time, religious people thought that like the blues was like the devil's music, right? And like you think about all the vices and everything that comes from music and musicians, and we've seen several musicians their life go down certain paths because of the excess that they live in, and maybe sometimes the debauchery and stuff like that. So yes, that can be possible, but music is also healing, and music is what connects us to our ancestors, and music is what connects past generations to future generations. And obviously like the scene that he was talking about where they shot on that IMAX camera was that scene where when he was playing so good that it made the spirits of all the people, even the white people in there, made the spirits of all of them come out, and everybody was just in their bag, enjoying it. And it was like definitely an iconic scene. And it had people in the theaters cheering it on and wanting to dance, and it was definitely dope. It was definitely dope. So yeah, I think it was like showing that like the pros and cons, or the good and the bad when it comes to music. So I thought it was really good, man. Again, I don't have anything, but yeah, music does also it has a lot of healing powers. And it has a lot of healing powers. There's a lot more things that we could say about Sinners. I think I like to talk to somebody about it. I think so. I think next week we gotta get a guest on here, and maybe we can break down some of these Easter eggs, because there's so many people making so much content about this movie that I can't even begin to fully scratch the surface of that. So I'm gonna save some, because this movie ain't going nowhere. This movie ain't going away no time soon, right? I don't even want to see this on stream. Like, I will go pay to see this movie again. I do not want to see this on streaming before July. Like, I think I like I mean definitely through May through June, like Juneteenth, like even Juneteenth and all that. Nah, this got to be in the theaters. Like, this is gonna be an event. This got to be something that we hold on to. But I'm looking forward to seeing what this ultimately grosses in the box office. Everybody has had positive receptions of it. Like I said, there are some people that are saying like it's not all that. It wasn't all that. It's not that good of a movie. And to be honest, like I said, I'm a tough critic, but I think people were like looking for things to not like about the movie, as opposed to just watching the movie and enjoying it. And again, I looked at it from a critical lens, but automatically I was like, because I could see what they was doing with certain things. Like some of the symbolism was pretty clear, but there's definitely some more Easter eggs and stuff like that we can get into. And I like to probably have that conversation with somebody to kind of bounce off some of these ideas. But yeah, a lot of content on it. and we'll get into that as well. But what do you think, man? What did you think about this week's episode? Did you see the NFL draft? Did your team draft the players that you wanted them to draft, right? What did you think about Sinners, man? If you haven't and yes, spoilers. I don't think I didn't give too much away of the movie, but I did tell some parts of it. So yes. Sorry about that, but yeah, go see Sinners if you haven't gone seen it yet. What do you think about what we talked about with neglect and abuse and what we talk about parenting and the things that kids go through? Obviously, the shocking stuff that kids go through, and in this day and age, and how it was still a problem back in the day. And then, we talked about parents, man, joining in on sporting activities and getting to show their skill. And would you participate in something like that? So, but yeah, man, I had a good time tonight. Again, there's so much that we could cover with this movie, and not enough time. So I'll get back to y'all next week. This your boy Los Def. This was episode 190 of the 280 Plus podcast. If you're still watching, I need you to hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the share button, right? Leave a comment below. Hit that bell for notifications. I'm your host, Los Def. This is episode 190 of the 280 Plus podcast, y'all. I'm out. Peace.